1 minute warning!
To the Goofball Army out there, hi at the families, tell them to get to the next room, tell them to go to your neighbors, because we got Goofball news to go over, and it might get crazy!
Typically does, guys. If it's your first episode ever, you got like 30 seconds before we start, so not enough time to go to the bathroom, but go get a drink, because trust me, you're probably going to need it there. In the meantime, the rest, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. That way you know about future episodes as well, guys. Buckle your seatbelts if you haven't already. Make sure your tray is in the upright position here, guys, because we are just about ready to get going. And like, oof.
Guys, if you want a crazy ride going forward, a bunch of nonsense, but all nothing but the truth about the Giants, listen in, buckle in, tell a friend.
Let's go.
And now, here are your Goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Here we got breaking news here as the Giants have officially fired Brian Daboll here, and we're rushing to get this set up, guys. This just broke just about 10 minutes ago there. Adam Schefter was the first one that I saw, at least, to go ahead and give the news here. But since then, everybody else has been verifying that it is true. And it's crazy because there was rumors today that nothing was going to happen. I know I saw Jordan Raanan saying that business was usual for the Giants there, so he wasn't expecting anything crazy. And yet here we go, officially, Brian Daboll being fired here. So Ian Rappaport on it said the Giants are firing Brian Daboll, sources say. A promising and frustrating season leads to New York Giants to have an opening. Diana Rossini says, breaking, the Giants are firing head coach Brian Daboll after Sunday's loss to the Bears. Per sources, Daboll, who won Coach of the Year in 2022, finishes his New York tenure with 20-40-1 record in 3+ seasons. Pat Leonard, Pat Leonard's loving this, guys, and rightfully so. Like he's kind of the negative Nancy, the Giants media room here. But if there's anything to be negative about, it's the Giants with Brian Daboll. He said the Giants have fired head coach Brian Daboll. A source confirms overdue. Joe Schoen should be next. Some players are not even at the building yet. So, yeah, that's like I said, this is how new this is coming down here. I'm seeing all the stuff here. I have not even heard yet who would be the interim coach here. Okay, here we go. Mike Kafka will be taking over as the interim coach. So that's the smart decision. Granted, he's not my favorite guy either at that point there, but, it's the only guy you got in the building. I mean, he literally has been a guy that a lot of places have looked at as a potential head coach. And I've been wondering all season long, very openly on here with you guys, if Brian Daboll is meddling in Mike Kafka's offensive play calling. That's been a concern I've had all season long because I see stupid plays being called that I saw being called when Kafka wasn't doing the play calling and Daboll was. So now Mike Kafka officially gets his chance to go ahead and be a head coach in the league for the very first time. And again, he's been a guy who's been a lot of interviews for head coaching positions. I don't quite understand, why, to be very frank with you, to a certain degree, considering how bad the Giants have been. But obviously he's thought of pretty well from his time with Kansas City and now going forward here now with the Giants. And the nice thing is at least we got some continuity here. I know it's a phrase that John Mara loves, continuity, for Jaxson Dart, as at least gets to keep his offensive coordinator with his head coaching change now coming in. And this is not very often, guys, the Giants go ahead and fire a coach mid-season. That is not normal at all. Typically, that's something that you only see, during the off season. And to be honest, it's kind of a bad sign when a team feels the need to do it mid-season. It means that they're just fed up and they can't deal with you anymore. They want you out of the building here, and that's where they're at. And quite frankly, who can blame them after what happened? Yesterday versus the Bears, our fourth game, the Giants blew the lead with a 10-point lead in the game. You got the mega downfall in Denver where we literally broke NFL records for giving up a lead. Like literally, that was an NFL record. As the most points scored by a team who had been shut out the first 3 quarters in NFL history. Over 100 years of history, guys. That's how epic that downfall was. You got the issues with New Orleans where we just kept on giving the ball over and over and over again, the one gimme game we had. You had the issue in Dallas, where quite frankly, we should have won that game as well, but nope. Gave it back to them, let them set up for a last-minute field goal, go into overtime and lose. And now yesterday, that was the breaking straw. Fourth game that the Giants lost with over a 10-point lead this season already, which is just absolutely insanity. And, I think beyond that, what speaks measures is the issues of how he's been handling the young kids on this team. Jaxson Dart has been treated like a battering ram all goddamn season here since he got in with Brian Daboll. And this kid is something special, I'm telling you guys. Like, I'm not going to go to the extreme of saying he's the lead. I'm not saying he's going to be our quarterback for the next 10 years. This kid has the potential, though, to reach those kind of, terms, and me not looking an idiot for saying it. And in the meantime, you can't be letting this kid throw his body to the caution to the wind like he's been doing. And yet the Giants have allowed it to happen. So I have to think that's part of it. Now with a concussion for Jaxson Dart, you can imagine he's going to be out this week coming up here. It is very, I don't want to say he doesn't care about the players, but it just seemed like Daboll was more about trying to save his job than protecting the players. I mean, it goes back to, you can talk about Cam Scatterbo to a certain degree. I think he just kind of plays that way. It just kind of is what it is. But, there should be conversations there as well, but players need to protect themselves. Players need to think about the long term. Daboll didn't seem to care about that. Look at him going into the 10th during the concussion protocol with the Eagles. That was absolutely ridiculous. That was embarrassing as a Giants fan. Care about your damn players. But, that's what happens when you care more about your job and the people that work for you. That just is sad, extremely sad. This was literally Sunday was the fourth time that Jaxson Dart had to be evaluated for concussion. The first time he was taken out for one, but the fourth time he was evaluated for it. And don't tell me the Giants didn't know that he got concussed. You don't think the Giants had people that look at replays as well and can't say, hey, here he's laying on the ground? Absolutely crazy here. Let's see here. We got Tony says, let's go. The football gods have answered our prayers. Hells yes. Dorothy says, now Daboll will have time to train for that sub 7-second 40-yard dash. Yes, he will. Solving the race problem. Have they announced the interim head coach? Yes, it is Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka will officially be the interim head coach there. Dorothy says, Daboll treating Jaxson like corporate America treats Indian program. Whoa. Like, you're trying to get me canceled, Dorothy. But listen, this is a good day to be a Giant fan, guys, after such a horrible day yesterday. Now, what I'm waiting for, and I haven't heard anything on it yet, and I'm literally refreshing stuff as things come up, guys, for you. I have not heard anything yet on the one that we all want to be gone, and that's Shane Bowen. Like, let's be honest here. There's not a single person who didn't want Shane Bowen gone, even over Brian Daboll. Like, if you had to tell me point blank, okay, we're going to go ahead and get rid of one of these two. Which one do you want to get rid of? I honestly think I would pick Shane Bowen. I think he's more of the problem. And, we'll see what happens there. But apparently, and this is according to Josina Anderson, who, again, I'm looking at trying to find things here for you guys as best we can here. Josina Anderson says, I'm told Brian Daboll informed his entire staff of the change of head coach in a meeting this morning. So you got to think that this probably went down like we were saying it should, in the fashion that it typically does. You get off the plane from the ride and then, hey, let's talk before you go home. So I have a feeling he was actually fired last night officially, but given the chance to go ahead and, come in and, do it the right way. Like, let's be honest, we don't want to embarrass the guy on the way out the door. Like, you still do things with class. And that's typically the Giants' way. So, I'm very glad to see that there. I'm looking to see if there's anything else here on, the Shane Bowen move, because that's got to be happening. That's got to be happening. Like, and I see there Dorothy saying Andre Patterson deserves the DC position. Listen, if they make that move, there's two different people that would make sense to take that move, and that's either Marquand Manuel or Andre Patterson. Either one of those two, I'd be perfectly fine with. Marco Emanuel was actually the defensive coordinator for the Falcons in 17 and 18, so 2 years of that. If you go back to Andre Patterson's, let's see here. I just want to verify real quick before I open my mouth and insert my foot, because again, this is all breaking. We're doing this on the fly here, so to speak. He was the co-defensive coordinator for the Vikings in 20 and 21. So he hasn't been a solo defensive coordinator, and it's been, a few years back to even go to look and see here. He was a head coach 30 years ago. He was a defensive coordinator for Western Michigan back in 1989. So, yeah, it's been a while since he's been that. Dorothy says you would only pick Shane Bowen until it sinks in that you still have Daboll running Dart literally into the ground. Listen, I get it. I get it. I think that's the bigger issue of the two. But like I said, I'm extremely happy that Brian Daboll is gone. Like, this has been a long time coming, guys. Let's see here. I'm just looking to see here if anything else on. I'm going to actually search Shane Bowen specifically just to see if we got anything here on Shane Bowen. Let's see here. According to Diana Rossini, no other staff changes are expected at this time here. Let's see. Yep. And then I see Anthony, who always is, with us on the live chat that will probably work. I know most people are at work here. I was hoping this time right for lunchtime for people. Anthony says, bye-bye, Daboll. I hope the door hits you on the way out, as he just messaged us here at the Facebook page. El Capitan, what's up, man? He says, the fellas, Raph in the building. What's up, man? And let's see here. I'm trying to see, and I guess if there's any news anybody thinks on Shane Bowen here, but I don't see anything coming in Shane Bowen. Up there he is. Here he is. He says, I'm at work, but this is worth it. Oh my gosh. Again, I'm not seeing anything on the Shane Bowen front. So I think it's safe to say this is going to be a Mike Kafka taking over and nothing else. Again, the Giants don't make a lot of mid-season changes. So while I would love a Shane Bowen change, it's not typical to have that kind of move that fast for the Giants. Now, if the Giants come out against Green Bay and get crushed again because the defense is an issue, well, then yeah, I can see that coming another week or two, maybe at the bye week. Like, I'm not saying Shane Bowen is safe for the rest of the season by any stretch of the imagination, but in the meantime, Brian Daboll's officially out. Mike Kafka's officially in. I'm trying to see if there's any news on Shea Tierney. I'm expecting him to be the guy to go ahead and take over potentially as the offensive coordinator. It definitely seems like there's going to be a little bit of an issue to have Mike Kafka take over. You want to take over play calling plus have a say in what goes on the defense. Well, he's never done this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's just definitely seems like a lot to be given to Kafka there. El Capitan says, I'm listening on doing some lunch at home. Great show. And don't forget Raiders versus the Giants before Christmas. Much love and respect. Appreciate it, man. Anthony says, this is better than Christmas morning as a kid. Well, I don't know if this means you had a sad Christmas mornings or I don't know. Christmas was big in my house growing up, but yeah, this is massive, guys. So he doesn't even make it through his final season here, and I'm just so glad the Giants aren't going to be stuck in what I thought they're going to be stuck in. Like, I really thought that was going to happen is they would keep Brian Daboll around just because of the Jaxson Dart thing, because Jaxson Dart's looking good with him, and then we'd be stuck with the guy who had one more year to prove himself, and we'd have to figure out how to get a coordinator or two with him. Because Mike Kafka was not sticking around, guys, next year with Brian Daboll as head coach. Point blank was not. Shane Bowen, point blank, is not sticking around no matter what next year. So you'd have to hire two new coordinators with a lame duck head coach. That's not a good mix. Not a good mix at all. So now it's going to be a matter of can they get stuff figured out here. I'm looking here. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if there's anything else on Shane as well. Let's see here. Dan Duggan says this was inevitable, but I thought they might wait until the end of the season. Feels like the Dart injury was the final straw. Make no mistake, this is a half measure, and the focus needs to shift to GM Joe Schoen. Damn straight. Damn straight. And it's bad when you got people in the media point blank calling this out and saying, hey, like, this is bad. This has got to go. Like, I don't think since I've seen the Joe Judge firing that I saw that, like, openly saw members of the media saying this guy's got to go. Like usually they kind of beat around the bush a little. They don't want to piss off the Giants. You know, the Giants as a franchise can be a little vindictive towards media that doesn't say what they want to say. Well, doesn't say what they want them to say, sorry. But yeah, like I remember after the blow up in Chicago, the kneel down to prevent the safety, like they were flipping out like that then. That's how bad this got again. Dorothy says, can Daboll get any of the 180 plus jobs in D1 football now? Listen, I think someone's going to hire Brian Daboll. There's no doubt in my mind on that. Like he's going to get a job somewhere. My only thing is, does he get a job as a head coach? If he wants that, he's probably going to have to go to college, like you're suggesting. I don't think anybody in the NFL is like, oh, Brian Daboll, this is the guy. But I do think there's people that will look at Brian Daboll and go, Josh Allen, 22 version of Daniel Jones, Jaxson Dart, and say, I can get this guy as my OC and he can develop a quarterback. I don't agree with that assessment, but I've also seen a lot of firsthand with him at that point there as a Giant fan. People that don't watch the Giants as much as us fanatics here, you know, they might say, oh, this makes sense. Let's do that. So, you know, it is what it is in that front there, but that's their problem to deal with, you know. Anthony says, I had a feeling Mara was going to do it before the next home game to boost ticket sales. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it boosts ticket sales, to be honest with you. I mean, don't get me wrong, it boosts fans' morale, that's for sure. But am I going, oh, Brian Daboll's going, I should go buy tickets? No. Still got no Jaxson Dart this week because of Brian Daboll's stupid play calling. You know, we're still going to have a really good team in the Packers coming to town that, quite frankly, we don't have a shot in hell of beating. You know, I guess you want to say maybe a half a shot now because of that. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's what you say, because it's definitely a situation where, you know, there's a boost to the morale. I just don't know how much is changed here. I'm trying to go back to some other people as well to see, you know, what else we might see here. Let's see here. There's not much. I'm trying to see here. Is there anything else? Trying to see anything from Carl Banks. He's not really commenting on it yet, as he got Caesars, Dirty Caesar says, yay. Let's see what else we got here. Bobby Skinner there, friend of the show, fire Joe Schoen. Let's see. Trying to see if we got any that are Anatina, Shane Bowen next, please. Damn straight. Let's see here. Shaw Marash said, please though, tell me I was wrong in telling you he was fired after Denver was giving one last life. The bald fat guy from WFAN knew. I'm not sure if he knew what he knew exactly, to be very frank, but it kind of is what it is in that front there. Let's see here. Let's see if Pat Traina has to say. She's usually pretty level-headed in this kind of stuff too, as well. So she just put the eyeballs emoji after the firing itself, and then put the report that Mike Kafka will be the interim head coach. So yeah, not much on her end there. Anthony says, if Russ is the quarterback, we have a negative chance of winning. If we have Winston, there's a 15% chance we win. Listen, honestly, this week, if we don't have Jameis Winston at the quarterback, again, assuming Jaxson Dart's not going to play, but I have to make that assumption because of the concussion, he won't be able to play. And quite frankly, I don't want him playing at this point. Like, give him a week to get right, because we don't want to 2 with him. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to have that kind of scenario. And let's be honest, we're not going to the playoffs because we beat the Packers. So at this point, let him go ahead and figure out his health and get that situated, start fresh with Kafka, and get Jameis Winston in there at that point. As we got the fire symbol there from Dirty Caesar. And Man Perry says, oh, he is fired. I thought everybody was clickbaiting. No, he's fired, man. He gone. Goodbye. Hit the road. Oh, yeah. He's gone. This doesn't seem like something to boo. It feels weird, but it is what it is. But let's see here. Anthony says they aren't firing the GM. No team would do after drafting a franchise quarterback. Maybe Kafka is going to release turbo time. Well, first off, just because they have a quarterback doesn't mean they can't fire the GM. And to be very frank, the GM was even the guy who was pushing for him, who was the coach they just fired. If Jaxson Dart is who we think he is, and we're going to find out, time will tell. But if we think he is, if it becomes what we think he is, we should go ahead and actually have a little appreciation for Daboll. when the smoke is cleared. Right now, we're pissed. We hate him. We don't want him anywhere near the franchise ever again. But if he is the guy, legitimately, they ever said he was so hell bent he wanted him to pick 3, then that's probably his best gift he gave to this franchise. Now just hopefully he didn't ruin him by barreling him into people like a freaking bull. And this is maybe Kafka's released Turbo time, and that's the one thing. Oh, listen, Turbo Miller needs to be on this roster, already. It's ridiculous to run in there with 2 running backs every single damn game. But I do think the problem you run into there is how much of that was Daboll and how much is Shane. There's also cap issues at that point you run into. But again, we got $5 million in cap space. That's just stupid, petty, and cheap, quite frankly, if you're doing it for that reason. Dorothy says, I thought I was finally going to get to not watch a game, but now I have to see Kafka as a coach. Yeah, that's definitely like the biggest, most interesting thing in this is for this upcoming game is it's something that you got to look at going, is there a difference in play calling? Because we've all had issues with the play calling. Let's be very frank. We've all had issues with the play calling. It's very, very stale at a lot of points. It's randomly bizarre. Like they'll randomly do a play that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Like how many 2-point conversions or like that just went crap, or like week 1 when they had Marcus Bowe out there as a receiver. Like I don't think that was Kafka, guys. I really don't. I think that was Daboll. So we'll see. Anthony says, I'm not saying they can't fire him. I just don't think they're going to. We'll see on that. I just think, to me, we're in a position. I said this yesterday, hoping this would happen today, even before we lost the game. Quite frankly, I just always every day woke up hoping the D will be fired. I looked at the scenario of the Giants and I'm like, you know what? Got Jaxson Dart. You got an exciting young quarterback with a lot of promise right now. You got stud pass rushers. You got, a decent number of picks. Like they traded up to get Dart, but they didn't give up all their, picks for the next couple of years to do it. They got other positions that actually have some decent talent. Scattaboo, Andrew Thomas, Malik Neighbors, even on defense. Again, we'll see what happens to Okereke, but I'll kind of include him right now in that list there. Paul Debo, Javon Holland. You got some high picks that haven't panned out. Maybe someone can fix, like a Tyler Nubin. I won't even say Deontay Banks. He's trash. He needs to go. But JMS comes into mind with that as well. I'll throw him in there. Like, there's people in there that maybe someone could fix that's actually a coach. Because how many times are we tired of seeing people leave here and become good? So I look at this scenario. This is an exciting place for a guy to want to come here and be the head coach, guys. And shameless plug, but tonight we're actually going to do, Rob and I, our Monday episode is going to be top 10 candidates to replace Brian Daboll. So we're gonna do that. We already were planning on doing that before this even happened, just because we're so tired of talking about how crappy this team is. We want to talk about something going on in the future here. So we'll have that for you guys tonight. But in the meantime, the big thing right now is to celebrate. Brian Daboll is officially gone. The Giants are officially moved on from him. Again, it's a weird tenure with him, guys. You get that first year, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like everything, and again, everything went right for the Giants. That's why 2022 was the way it was. 2-point conversions went through, kicks went through. The Jacksonville game got the player stopped to the 1-yard line for the Giants to win. Like, so many things went right for that season to be the way it was. Since then, everything's just gone wrong. And this is a season now where you got a little bit of hope now because the Giants so close, guys. I know that sounds weird. Like, this isn't horseshoes or hand grenades. Like, close don't cut it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's, the Giants are fine. They should have done this. Like, obviously, they should have done this. But we are so goddamn close to being a good team. It's not even funny. Look at those 4 games that we were 10 points up and lost the game. We go ahead and win 3 of those even. We're 500. Like, we're an average team. And I know that's not a goal I'm setting to be average. Don't get me wrong. But after all the years of futility we've had, who wouldn't take a season right now where we're hovering around that 500 mark? I would love that right now. That's at least a positive direction, and it's just sanity. But that's where we're at here. That's kind of the steps we've fallen at that point too. Finney says, hopefully there's more news. The defensive coordinator gone too, I hope. I don't think that's happening now. All the news we're hearing is that's not what's going to happen. But, we'll see. I think the big thing is going to be Mike Kafka. Is he going to be still the OC on top of that? I'm looking here to see more news on it. Mike Garafolo is just saying interim head coach. Let's see here. Yeah. Everything I'm seeing is still as far as that news. Again, it's all breaking so quickly. This all just happened there. But I do think that Mike Kafka is going to come in and do his own thing. And I do think that we're going to find out real quick how much of this offense was Daboll and how much was Kafka. Like, I really do think that. And I mean that in a very positive way, actually. Because, again, I think that Daboll's been meddling with Kafka for a while. I really do. And, I think that Kafka is also going to be under orders. And I hate to use that term, like you're the coach, do what you need to do. But I think he's going to be under orders, so to speak, to go ahead and protect the players. Don't go ahead and put guys into harm, because that's what Daboll did. He was more focused on, more focused on winning and keeping his job than he was on building for the future. Jordan Raanan just 6 minutes ago, ESPN reporter says, by the way, this doesn't mean there won't be changes. That's just that there hasn't been anything else yet. So he's saying, give it a second. Let's see what happens there. But I got to imagine that he's responding to the people that are nonstop going, what the hell? Why is Shane Bowen there? LPG and, license plate guy is always very positive towards the Giants, got a lot of ties to them and doesn't want to ruin that relationship. Not saying in a bad way. He's got a lot of perks of being who he is. He says, I applaud the Giants for not sitting back and doing nothing. Get it right. And that's the truth. Point blank, that's the truth. And I think that going forward also, I'm kind of curious to see how Malik Neighbors is used once he's come back healthy as well. Because I do think the Giants had a lot of tendencies to kind of just chuck it up to him, make him do all the work. And that's not always very good either. That's again, he got hurt. Look how he got hurt by ball being chucked up to him, and he had to come back up and do things that he shouldn't have to do. Hit him in stride, hit him on slants. It doesn't have everything has to be chuck it up to him 20 yards down the field and hope he gets it. So, we'll see what they do there. Let's see. Anthony says, I think Kafka's offense sucks. We saw much more creative plays when Daboll was calling the offense. We just didn't have talent to do it with, so it didn't work. We'll see. We had the same talent last year, pretty much, except obviously quarterback. But Daniel Jones is having no problem, in the Colts offense. Steelers game aside, he hasn't looked that bad at all. So again, I don't know which one it is. I don't. We're gonna find out though really quickly. And like I said, I'm still hoping, and that's kind of why, to be honest with you guys, I'm staying on right now with y'all, is because I'm hoping for some news with Shane Bowen, because he got to go. It's time. It's past time for him to go. But all I'm seeing right now is nope. Let's see. Connor Hughes says the Giants view this as a test for Mike Kafka. They want to see how his leadership radiates through the rest of the staff and to players. It's among the reasons no other staff changes are expected at this time, per sources. This does not mean Shane Bowen is safe for the rest of the season, but changes to the staff will be Kafka's call moving forward. The former quarterback is highly regarded around the NFL, interviewed for multiple head coaching openings, coveted as an OC too, but Giants blocked all lateral moves, and they did. Remember, Seattle point blank was going to hire him as their OC, by the way, guys. A couple years ago when they hired Mike McDonald, I think he's their head coach, the former Ravens defensive coordinator, they were going to hire Kafka to be their OC. He was actually the backup for the head coaching job. And they were going to hire him to be the OC because they were that impressed with him. So, again, there's a lot of people in the NFL that are very high on Kafka. So we're going to find out real quickly if that's good or bad or unfounded or what the hell is going on there. But, yeah, let's see here if we got anything else here. Trying to see if we got anything else specifically, but it sounds like nothing is going to happen as far as the Shane Bowen front this week specifically. Let's see here. Just trying to see what else we got here. Ian Rappaport, nothing new. Let's see. Yeah, I think that might be it on news here. But we'll have to see. I think that again, the rest of this year is going to be developing Jaxson Dart, keeping the players, healthy. Now I'm looking at just any news or anything people are hearing. This is Underdog NFL is quoting Connor Hughes. I have to go to Connor Hughes' page to see if he actually said this, but he said Giants still view GM Joe Schoen in high regard per Connor Hughes. Let's see here. Anything else news-wise here? Giants Insider says no media availability today due to the recent announcement. Giants will release a press statement soon. So that's kind of wish they would do it, but want to hear more on Kafka, that's for sure. SNY Giants also, and this is saying per Connor Hughes. So SNY is who Connor Hughes works for. So if they're saying that with him, it's definitely legit. The exact quote I said a minute ago saying Giants still hold GM Joe Schoen in high regard. So, again, we're going to have to see what happens in this whole thing. It's all breaking news. It's all changing on the fly here. But again, Brian Daboll officially fired as the New York Giants head coach. Mike Kafka in as the interim head coach. As of right now, all reports seems like nothing else is going to change for right now. I haven't heard, and that's another thing I'm looking for to see is if Mike Kafka is going to retain play calling, is he's going to stay also as the offensive coordinator for the team as well. Again, I think Shea Tierney, the quarterback coach, is the guy you would think would move up if they do that move. But I haven't heard anything at all yet. And you got to think also there's some fans of Brian Daboll in the building on that coaching staff as well. Usually when you're a head coach, you bring guys along that you have respect for and know. Shea Tierney, I believe, actually can't come with Daboll from Buffalo, if I remember correctly. So there's always that chance. When they fired the coach of the Titans here earlier this season, they did lose a couple of coaches as well. That happens in that scenario. Let me just take a look at Shea Tierney to see to verify. Yeah, he was an offensive assistant, 18 and 19 in Buffalo, and assistant quarterbacks coach in 20 and 21 there. So we definitely got to look at that as a potential, that we do lose a couple of coaches, including Shea Tierney, because of that. We'll find out, though, as things go. And again, we're going to be live later on, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here with you guys, doing the top 10 candidates to take over as the head coach there, since now we know that the Brian Daboll saga is officially done here in New York. Again, we were kind of planning on it anyway, but we're going to go ahead and do that there with you all later on tonight. That's going to be fun. I will say this, little spoiler alert, Mike Kafka, not on the list. Not on the list. And to be honest, I think the Giants are just clean house when the season's over. But I think this is still good for Kafka. I mean, he still gets a chance to prove if he can be a head coach or not, Anthony with the 49 Super Chat. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your support as always. But like I said, we'll have to see what happens. I think in the end, this is a great opportunity for Kafka. He's gone through a lot of different positions. So a lot of interviews for head coaching positions. Like I said, he was the second choice in Seattle. He was also on a couple other. Anthony says, thanks, Drew. See you tonight, my friend. Appreciate you, man. I'll see you tonight. But yeah, he was also up for the New Orleans Saints job. He was up for the Cardinals job as well before they hired Gannon. So yeah, there's a lot of guys out there that again think very highly of him. And this is a great opportunity for him to show, even if he doesn't get the job with us, which I don't think he does. I don't think he's the long-term answer. He's just, hey, finish out the season guy. But I think that this is a scenario where, the Giants say, hey, listen, we don't know what's going to happen here. Run this out the rest of the way. The worst case scenario is great experience for you, which it is, by the way. Now we can go out to an interview saying, hey, I've been a head coach for 7 games. You can see what I did. Look at the change. Like this is honestly great for him. As Deb's in the house, she says, just tuned in, Drew. Unbelievable news, but good news. Damn straight it is. Damn straight it is. Dorothy says 90% chance Kafka wins 3 games. Giants hire him to be full-time coach. He's retained for 4 seasons with 15 total wins. Oh my gosh. Anthony says Shane Bowen is probably in his meeting right now. We'll find out there. But like I said, I just think that this is a great thing for the Giants. Move on now. And we can also go ahead and look at candidates right now. That means keeping in mind, guys. Like, I think the first thing is the Giants got to figure out, and it sounds like from what they're hearing, they still want to keep Joe Schoen. And I'm seeing here, Giants Insider is also, and keep in mind, they're not just a podcast. Those guys are actually media credential because they do a magazine as well. Said, if you're wondering on Joe Schoen's job security, Schoen is expected to stay. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're going to see. I think Schoen's going to stay. As much as we all want him gone, Schoen's going to probably stay. And that's the lesser of 2 evils in my mind, even though both should be gone. I think Schoen will stay, and then we have the ability to go to him and say, listen, you got a couple of head start weeks here on everybody else to look for a head coach. Just you in Tennessee looking. Go bring guys in right now. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I don't think you promised Mike Caffey anything, and not to mention the fact that you don't have to announce to the media that you're bringing somebody in for an interview, probably. You know, so, you know, we'll see. As Amon Perry says, stay for how long? We're going to find out. The Giants don't want to have this issue where they change people every couple of years. And I really think, and there's some truth to what I'm about to say, even though I still, again, I would get rid of Schoen in a heartbeat. There's a lot of people that look at this roster and say there's a lot more talent on this roster than what our record shows. And again, the 3 games we're talking about, we have 4 games we lost by 10, but after winning by 10 points at some point in the game. If we won 3 out of 4, hypothetically, we're 500. Like, again, I look at that as a realistic number where we probably should be right now. You know, and if this is like I said, this is a chance to say, let's see what he can do with the coach that works out better with the roster he built. And guys, again, we've talked about it before. This roster is not as bad as people necessarily think it is. It's the coaching issue right now. I'm not a fan of Schoen because of the different moves he's made. I don't like the way he handled the Saquon thing. I don't like the way he handled, the trade deadline this year was a big issue for me. And that was kind of my like, okay, I'm done. But, you know, look at this roster. Got the pieces for a great pass rush. It's not showing up on paper, but the pieces are there. You know, you got some young secondary pieces you drafted. They're not necessarily working out, but again, coaching. You know, you got offensive line finally rolling right now. You got a quarterback for the future. You got a top flight receiver. You have a running back that people are excited about in Scatterbo when he gets back next year, assuming he's healthy and good to go. We're going to do a little knock on wood there. Tracy, over 1,000 yards his rookie season last year. You know, Slayton and Wandale, not bad receivers. Not great. Don't get me wrong. They're not bad. You know, you got some young tight ends in here that can do a little something. Like, the cupboard is not empty, guys. The record is the issue. So, yeah, if you got to pick one of the two, and that's what the Giants are going to do, it sounds like, pick the guy who's coaching the players. Because he's the guy you got to look at as the issue. And his play calling has been suspect. A lot of his choices have been suspect. So, you know, that just is what it is. Jay says, I want to, it's how you put it used to be just Jay. Now it's just Joe. I almost want to call you Joe every time I pull it up. You're just Jay, though. Can't change your name now. It's been too long. He says, hell yeah, Drew, not having a job is great. Goofball emergency updates. Damn straight. I should be starting any day the new job, too. So it's perfect timing. So also with the $5 super chat there, Jay, as well. Appreciate it, man. He says, I see you, AC. Appreciate it, man. Like I said, it's a great day to be a Giants fan, guys. Great day to be a Giants fan. Let me see here. I'm trying to see if we got anything else rolling here with these guys. Again, we got a lot of stuff pouring in. RG3 just said the New York Giants should hire Lane Kiffin. I've seen a lot of that. Again, we're going to talk about that stuff tonight because we're going to go ahead and, like I said, do an episode on top 10 candidates to take over. Now that Daboll's gone, we're going to do it anyway before Daboll's even officially gone. But now that he's gone, let's see here. Just trying to see what else we got. Marty Mush from Barstool Sports says the Giants are going to be the most desirable team for a head coach. Star young quarterback, star receiver, stars on defense, and probably a top 3 pick. This is amazing. That's what I said before, guys. This is a scenario where this is an elite coaching opportunity. Like, I don't think there's a guy that's going to be looking through the circuits that's not going to go, look at this roster. It's a massive media market. This is where I want to go. And it's not often the Giants are the desirable location. I think we are the desirable location this year. I really do think that because of these things. Jay says, it feels like they should have kept Daboll to keep Dart's momentum through the season. Again, it depends on how much is Daboll and how much is Kafka. And again, these are things I'm not going to even try to say either way because I don't know. I don't. You know, like I'm not going to front and tell you guys that I'm in the huddle. I'm in the media rooms. I know that kind of stuff. And quite frankly, the guys in the media rooms don't even know because they're not in the huddle. They're not in the locker room. Not what open talks are having. It's a totally different thing being in the locker room after the game and doing your post-game interviews or being there after practice and hearing guys talk freely, you know? He also says, Drew, do you feel like those stupid design runs for Dart going kamikaze trying to save his job got him fired this early? Yes. Yes, quite frankly. I think that's a big thing. He's not protecting the players. And it should have been a scenario point blank where, like, you saw him sliding. I think the conversations were had at times. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it's all there. But if he's not going to slide, he should have been pulled from the game because that would have pissed him off like you wouldn't believe. He's a competitor and a half. Sometimes you got to give players a little tough love. I guess we talked about it yesterday, kind of the comparison of RG3 when he was playing, his rookie season and Mike Shanahan and the issues they had, and Shanahan didn't protect him. You got to protect the players, especially when they're young, because you know what? What matters more, getting that first down or having the win? Because quite frankly, if Jaxson Dart's in that game the rest of the week, we probably won, guys. And what did Brian Daboll do? Nothing. Maybe he talked to him from, hey, you should slide, kid, whatever. I don't know what the conversation was, but you didn't see him take him out. He went right back in. Right back in with the concussion. Right back in with the concussion. Like, we all saw it. The replays were there again. Don't tell me the Giants don't have the replays to see that Jaxson Dart's literally lying on the ground instead of running for the ball. Don't tell me he's not that kind of competitor that's going to run for the ball the second it pops out of his hands. They should have known something was wrong right then and there. And they either were ignorant of it, which is not a good thing, or they didn't care, which is even worse. I'm hoping it's ignorance, because I would hope that somebody wouldn't jeopardize somebody's long-term health like that for their job for one football game. But I don't know. I'm not there. I have to just give the options that we have to make our calls ourselves personally, what we think, Like, I don't want to be that shock jock kind of guy where it's like, oh, this is definitely going on. Like, I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't. Deb says, I've already heard Mike McCarthy's name for head coach. Listen, I'm not as low on that, guys. Say what you want about McCarthy, but he did a good job with Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and developing him. He did a good job with Dak Prescott. He got the playoffs often. Again, he had great quarterbacks those times, but he had, had gotten the playoffs quite often. Don't tell me you wouldn't take playoffs right now.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Yeah. Again, it's not the pick that breaks the headlines and you go, oh my God, this is an amazing pick to go for Mike McCarthy. But he's won everywhere he's gone, guys. Maybe he's got the one ring and that's it. But if winning everywhere you go and getting one ring is not a good resume, how high are we setting this bar? Like, the only guys can have a better resume than him, to be very frank with you guys, that we're going to look at probably as potential, and I don't think it's going to go very far at all, is Belichick. So, I think his time is just done, before, quite frankly. So, it's not that bad. Not that bad an option, Let's see here. Moon Reb, what's up? Says, Kiffin is about to make $30 million a year coaching in college. His ego may bring him to the NFL, though. Yeah, well, you got to keep in mind, and I don't say this as a negative thing, but Nepo baby. Monty Kiffin, his father, was a longtime NFL coach and a damn good defensive coordinator. Was the defensive coordinator where I live here in Tampa. For many, many years during the Warren Sapp, John Lynch, Rondé Barber, Derek Brooks years, just was a really good defensive coordinator. So NFL is where he grew up in. And I do think he's better suited for college, though. Again, I'm giving you guys all the news we're going to break through. We're going to talk about tonight. We talk about top 10 candidates for the head coaching job here. But yeah, that's definitely a scenario where I would be shocked if they make the call, given the Kiffin Dart, college thing there. But again, I don't give too much away. We'll talk about it tonight. 9:00, be there, be square, 9 p.m. Eastern. Jason, I agree, Drew. There was no reason to fire him right away. The confusion got Daboll fired, just in my humble opinion. I mean, his answers surely didn't look good at the press conference, that's for sure. And again, I don't want to do conjecture. I don't want to be that show. Like, I don't want to be that guy. But his attitude at the press conference was kind of like, you literally have a guy who's a cornerstone for this franchise potentially. And then this is it. This is what you do. I don't know what happened. Something like, again, he obviously didn't do that specifically. I'm not trying to imitate him here, but that was kind of the attitude I got from him. Like, internally, that's what he seemed like he was doing. So, it is what it is. Jason, no, I agree instead of I don't disagree, which is a stronger sentiment. Yes, it is. I'll let Rob know. He says, Moonreb, it's tough to give up those cush jobs. I wouldn't, but coaches are not normal people. That's for sure. Damn straight. Jason's Deb, the interview with McCarthy last cycle didn't go anywhere. He would bring us to respectability, although it's not sexy. Yeah. Like I said, not the sexy pick, but if you want to go with, there's going to be guys that are floor ceiling guys. There's going to be guys that are floor ceiling guys. You know what I mean? He's one of the safest picks you're going to have this coaching cycle, probably. That's where I feel like he's going to be the safe pick if you want to make a change like that and not take a risk and just build up the team a little bit. And honestly, that's not the worst. I don't want to put him in Marty Schottenheimer kind of category because he's got a ring, at least one, but he's the guy that might build us up to something. And then after a couple of years go, listen, we need the next step or else we got to make a change. Sometimes you got to take it in steps and tiers. Deb says, I think there'll be some continuity for Dart with Kafka. Yes. As Jace is 100% Deb. Jason's watch us win out and keep Kafka as a head coach. Oh, well, listen, if we win out, listen, I don't think I would necessarily be that upset. We keep Kafka. And again, I'm not saying right now keep Kafka, but you said if we win out. Look at the schedule we have left, guys. Packers, Lions, Patriots, Commanders, Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys. We got 3 tough games left to go. The last quarter of this schedule is not so bad. Commanders, Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys. Commanders been playing like crap. Vikings, 50-50. Raiders, crap team. Cowboys, crap defense. So we'll see, and I'm curious to see what we get from Kafka. I really am. Deb says, not for nothing, Drew, but this is one of your best shows. LOL. I know it's because of the news, though. It's not me. I know it. Big task at hand says, I feel bad for this news. Don't need to feel bad. It had to get done. It's the right move. Hot Dogs says, I will miss the way Daboll gazed at Dart like a plus-size cheerleader fawning over the team captain. The bromance is over. Love knows no boundaries. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's Jay says, yep, always up for 6 p.m. Monday for the live chat. Yeah, like I said, well, 6 p.m. for you because you're in the Pacific time, but 9 p.m. again, we will be live with me and Rob both doing our top 10 candidates to replace Daboll. His conclusion. Let's see. Bookend tackles. This man says it was time. Damn straight. Says maybe Kafka was being held back. I do think that. I really do think that. I think. The big thing for me was I heard Kafka got the play calling back this year. Obviously, we all did over the summer, and I'm like, Okay, that's a good move. Like that's the way it should be. I'm not necessarily high on Kafka, but Daboll couldn't handle being the head coach and the play caller at the same time. Point blank. No disrespect to him, a lot of guys can't. But then I heard, okay, he's on the sidelines, not in the box. Daboll himself said point blank when he got hired. And y'all can look me up on this and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm like 99.9999% sure I'm right on this. Said, I don't want to call the plays. I want to play caller. I want him up in the box. It's a different view. It's a different mentality. They can see things you can't see from the sidelines. And then this year, let's give Kafka the play calling, but let's go ahead and have him on the sidelines. I think Kafka was being stonewalled with the plays like crazy. I really do think that. I think Daboll had a lot of his hands in the cookie jar, like an octopus in the cookie jar. And we're going to find out if I'm right. And listen, either way, I don't hope or not hope. It is what it is. I just hope that we're not an embarrassment the rest of the way. Jimmy says, why do they keep Bowen? He's the biggest problem. Because in the end, Bowen is the biggest problem, but he's not the guy in control of all the problems. Brian Daboll could have easily gone on his mics and said, hey, Shane Bowen, stop that. Don't play prevent defense. Don't give a 10-yard cushion when you have guys who can press cover. He could do that. And I think the problem really came into be with Daboll as far as the defense side specific talk about. I don't think he knows defense well enough not to be a head coach. And you can get away with having a guy who's a good offensive guy be the head coach that doesn't necessarily know everything on defense, but he has to have a strong, smart defensive coordinator with him to handle that side of the ball then. And have the guy who's just an offensive guy pop in every so often. How are things going? Okay, this. Yep, run this by me real quick. Okay, we're good. I trust you. That's what he needed. And he didn't have that. You know, like Wink Martindale wasn't that guy either, for the record. I know a lot of people like Wink. Our defenses were not good with Wink. We love the personality of Wink, and I think that's what kind of ingrained him into Giants fans' hearts here. And because again, 2022. Look at the actual defense those years. He wasn't that good, trust me. But like I said, he never had it, and unfortunately, because he was so bad, you know, the year before he had to hire Shane Bowen, no good defensive coordinator wanted the job. Wasn't a safe job to take. They took Bowen because Bowen couldn't take any other job. You know, and their stupidity was putting him as he's a great run stopper. How's that working out? Deb says book and tackles, you never know. Jay says, I'm kind of down for Brandon Brown Kafka, considering there isn't a lot out there. No. Your next point, I'm agreeing with you. He says, I would love to be a fly in the wall when John Mara asked Brandon Brown what he would have done differently. 100% there with you, man. 100%. You know, that's the situation where I would love to see what would have happened in there, because point blank is just, there's issues I have with Joe Schoen. Again, we got rid of the bigger of the two problems. I think Daboll was the bigger of the two problems. But there's plenty of issue with Schoen. Some of his drafting decisions have been pure crap. Some of the free agency, like especially Hudson, like James Hudson, you know, like Jay, because you're on the show all the time here with us here. You know damn well, I was flipping out. We signed Hudson. I was like, why are we giving $12 million to a guy that Cleveland's happy to get rid of? How does that make any sense? Then you get guys in like Stone Forsythe and I think people like that as well. Like, you signed crap tackles, and you saw what happened when Hudson had to go in, obviously. Did not go well. I'm not going to sit here and pat my back and say I was right, but I'm not going to say I was right and not pat my back, even though I just kind of did. Big Task at Hand says, quick question. Do you think that Joe Schoen is next? It's possible, but it doesn't seem like the Giants want to. Quite frankly, from what you're hearing here. Connor Hughes, like I said, friend of the show there, he said that, you know, it's doesn't seem like they want to get rid of him. They still think very highly of him. It's what SI quoted him as saying. Well, I'm paraphrasing their quote, but you know, that's what they had said about him there. So, you know, we'll see, but it doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen. Bookhead Tackles question: did Wink do a jig today? Oh yeah, I wouldn't shock me at all if Wink sent like a petty text and stuff like that too. That's definitely Wink's motto. Like, Wink is definitely that petty guy. All right, guys, we're gonna real quick take a quick pause, pay the bills. And then we're going to go ahead and get to the rest of your comments and see if there's anything else new in this here for you guys as well. Appreciate you guys. We got 118 people in the chat here during a random midday episode with no prep whatsoever. So appreciate you guys all being here. Do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that thumbs up while you're there. Tell somebody that you know about this by sending them the link as well there. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
Alrighty, guys, perfect timing there as I do that. Literally, I got the phone notification here that the Giants released their statement on actually a full article, I should say, on Giants.com about Brian Daboll being relieved of duty. Now, with that, they didn't put an author on this whatsoever. So there's a lot of quotes in here and information. So I'm going to give you guys just the quotes because I don't want to be the guy like stealing people's like full articles like that. I'm not going to name names, but I know some content creators that do that. But I will steal the quotes because those are open for public, obviously. Let's see this. John Mara and Steve Tisch in a joint statement said, "We spoke this morning about the direction of our franchise on the field, and we decided that at this time, it is in our best interest to make a change at the head coaching position. The past few seasons have been nothing short of disappointing, and we have not met our expectations for this franchise. We understand the frustrations of our fans, and we will work to deliver a significantly improved product. We appreciate Coach Daboll for his contributions to our organization. We wish the Daboll family well, all the best in the future." They said Joe Schoen is talking about him. They said, "We feel like Joe has assembled a good young nucleus and look forward to its development. Unfortunately, the results of the past 3 years have not been what any of us want. We take full responsibility for those results and look forward to the kind of success our fans expect. There are difficult decisions, and John and I do not. These are difficult decisions, and John and I do not take them lightly." Okay, sorry. They didn't specify the difference here. This is a statement specifically from Steve Tisch. He said, "These are difficult decisions, and John and I do not take them lightly, but we feel like this is the right thing to do at this time, and it will allow us to move forward." So yeah, officially Giants gone. You can tell by that quote, Joe Schoen ain't going anywhere, guys. That's the key in this whole thing that I took. You know, this is the exact quote, and this is John Mara saying it specifically. Again, sorry, this article didn't do the best, and I'm reading this on the fly for you guys live as it just came out. John Mara specifically said this one. He said, "We feel like Joe has assembled a good young nucleus of talent, and we look forward to its development. Unfortunately, the results over the past 3 years have not been what any of us want. We take full responsibility for those results and look forward to the kind of success our fans expect." So the big thing there, we feel like Joe has assembled a good young nucleus of talent. That's a vote of confidence right there for Joe Schoen, guys. So Joe Schoen, quite frankly, not going anywhere. So if anybody was looking for that today, that doesn't seem to be the case. They did not mention anything whatsoever on, Mike Kafka as getting an offensive coordinator and promoting somebody to be that position. But I'm looking to see there. I don't see anything on that. So again, things are happening quick, guys. Things are happening on the fly. So, we'll see how things break down and go there. But yeah, it's like I said, that's probably what's looking at there. As Jay says, "Damn, that makes sense, Drew. I hate Joe Schoen." Yeah, I'm excited, but that's where you're at. If you look at that, that's what that's saying point blank is Joe Schoen's not going anywhere. You don't give a vote of confidence to the guy and then fire him the next day. I mean, well, Giants do all kinds of crazy stuff, but that would be highly unnormal. I'll put it that way. That'd be abnormal, to say the least. I don't think unnormal is a word. But, yeah. So, like I said, guys, to reiterate, Brian Daboll officially out as head coach for the New York Giants. Joe Schoen is still going to be the GM. Seems like definitely for the future. It sounds like next year and all they plan on having Joe Schoen based on that statement I just read. Bowen is still there. I know it's the other question people have, and Deb says, is that cap position regarding Bowen? That's what they're saying. Again, this wasn't the Giants statement. This is what the media is saying they've heard from sources, is that they want to go this week with no changes. And it'll be Kafka's decision going forward what they do. And I do think that Kafka's going to make the call if he's got to make the call, because quite frankly, he knows he's probably out at the end of the year either way. You know, quite frankly, it's his butt. He wants a head coaching job. How this team performs is going to determine his jobs. You know, is he going for an OC position, or is he going to go for a head coaching position end of the year somewhere? You know, Jay says, if the Giants hire another bargain basement coach, I might actually become a Colts fan in real life. They need a splash hire for sure. I'll say this. They need a legit hire. A legit hire. So, you know, I did include in our top 10 we're going to go over tonight, I did include a guy who would be considered that bargain basement kind of guy, because quite frankly, that's the Giants' way, is hiring people from left field that are cheap. But yeah, they need a legit coach. And there's a couple guys that come to mind, but again, we're going to have that talk here tonight. But you know, I know we mentioned a couple today: McCarthy, Kiffin. There's a few guys out there that are definitely being talked about. Belichick, but Belichick, no, he needs to retire. You know, but it is what it is. There, that's where they're what the Giants do. They do hire some odd, you know, guys sometimes. Daryl says they need a winning head coach who's proven not a first timer. Agreed. And that's not even me knocking the Daboll hire. Let me be very clear. I don't want to be 2020 with, you know, hindsight 2020 guy with that. Although I wasn't a fan of it at the time. You know, I went on a record when we first started the show saying that Daboll had failed everywhere but Buffalo. I wasn't excited about the hire. You know, so, you know, we'll see. But that's where we're at. Is the Joe Judge move was bad. The Pat Shurmur move was bad. The McAdoo coach job, point blank, was just to avoid him going to somebody else. They literally kicked Tom Coughlin out to keep Ben McAdoo. What they did. Let's be honest about it. So, you know, been some really, really suspect decisions there, that's for sure. Let's see. B Solo 47 said, I wonder if we can attract a decent coach with Shane still running things. Our depth sucks. We whiffed on premium draft picks and let good players leave. That depends on the relationship. You know, there's some guys that, quite frankly, won't want to work with Shane because he's kind of a jerk from what you hear behind closed doors. But there's some guys that, point blank, want a coaching job and want this coaching job potentially because of Dart, the pass rush, and things that other places can't give you. You don't get a lot of opportunities to be a head coach in the league, guys. You want a spot where you have a chance to succeed. And while Joe Schoen may be considered a negative by some, this roster is considered a positive. And like it or not, he built the roster. So we can not like things that he's done because it's pretty obvious to look at some of the stuff, the Banks, the Neals, the lack of making moves and trading guys away when their time is done so we actually get something for them. There's a lot of things you can go after him for. And I mentioned the Hudson thing. But everything you like about this roster, probably Joe Schoen. So that's why I'm so mixed on him, really, to be honest. Moonreps' Giants head coach job is attracted to the talent of the team, but not so much due to ownership management. I'll say this, around the NFL circles, the ownership of the Giants is actually still thought of highly amongst the NFL circles. Like if you were, let's say you're up at the job and you call somebody up and say, hey, what do you think about, you know, the Giants as an organization? John Marinow is thought of very well. I don't think that's necessarily an issue. You know, Jay says, off the top of your head, right now, who does Goofball want as a head coach? You guys will probably kill me for it, Mike McCarthy. Because at least I trust that we'll go better. I know it's, again, I know you mentioned before, not the sexy pick. It's not the sexy pick. It's the steady pick. So G says, I think it's a super attractive gig, but coaching in New York isn't for everybody. Nope, it's definitely not. He says, do you think Pat Leonard is scared to see guys who he rips after they get fired? Probably not. Probably. I don't think Pat Leonard loses any sleep whatsoever over that stuff. Like him or not, he just calls it like he sees it. And he's very aggressive about his opinions. And I don't think he gives a damn, point blank, who we. And I don't mean to say negative when I say it this way. It's going to come off negative for a second. But I don't think that I don't think he loses any sleep over anything he says. And it's just because that's just how he is. This is my thought. It's coming out. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I actually appreciate it, like bluntness. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Bookend Tackle says, make sure Super Bowl Super Bowl for Saquon Barkley never became an Eagle. Like I said, I don't dislike the Barkley situation still, to be very frank with you guys. And I know the Eagles got a ring. The Eagles could have got a ring without him too. Let's be honest. That was a very good team. You know, like that's let's be very frank about it. We know we don't like saying that for Giants fans. The Eagles have a very good team. You know, and when it boils down to it, I care about my team. I don't give two damns about the freaking Eagles. And our team was shit with Saquon. It's shit post Saquon. Did Saquon make a difference? In 22, he did, yeah. But what about the rest of the years? You know, so that's just where I'm at there. Jay says Shane let a lot of talent, elite talent walk out their door. He let a lot of talent walk out the door. Elite, I'll give you Saquon. I'll give you Leonard Williams. You know, I'll give you Xavier McKinney. But again, Saquon didn't make this team elite along with him. Leonard Williams, we got Dexter Lawrence. You only pay so much tackles. You couldn't have paid Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. Be very clear on that. And when it comes to Xavier McKinney, there was things, and I've heard people say this, kind of beat around the bush. There are some things about him personality-wise that they didn't like. Point blank. This was not about him on the football field. There was definitely things in the football outside the football field they didn't like. Some maturity issues, some things like that. You know, he was fighting with Wink when he was here. Doing things on Twitter and stuff like that. The ATV incident. So, you know, I think great player, but you know, I'm just not so sure that he's not the right move to move on from. You know, and you know, if you look at what's going on right now, great year last year, 8 interceptions, everybody's going crazy. He's got 2 right now, guys. That has been a career year. You know, so you know it kind of is what it is in that stretch there. But you know, we'll see. Fitty says, why not Steve Spagnuolo? Because quite frankly, he's failed at it before. He's older, and I don't think he wants to do it. I don't think he wants to do it. Be very frank with you. I think that he wants to just be the DC the rest of this time until Andy Reid goes, and he'll probably retire with Reid. Just the kind of guy, he's a very loyal guy. And Reid has stood by him from the get-go. And I just think that's the vibe of what I got with him. We'll see. I could be wrong. You know, I definitely could be wrong. But I just don't think he's going to want the job. I think he's happy where he's at. Jay says, I like Pat Leonard. Deb says, I like Pat Leonard for the things you stated, Drew. Jay says, some fans don't want to hear the truth. They want to stick to their echo chambers. I mean, let's be honest. That's way beyond sports, too. I'm not going to start the politics talks, but how many people do it in politics, too? That's just, you know, either side. I'm not taking a side of the politics stuff. I'm just saying that's just people. And unfortunately, social media gives us a lot of that. You can choose what you get in your feeds and stuff like that. And people go, I want all positive things about the Giants, and that's it. Or I want all negative things about the Giants, and that's it. And then all of a sudden you hear somebody from the opposite side, and they're your enemy because they don't believe like everybody else does that you see in your feeds. That's what happens. You know, like, unfortunately, some people can't take it with Pat Leonard. Pat Leonard is what Pat Leonard is, guys. And if you want to say that he has no clue what he's doing, because I've heard people say he just hates the Giants, he has no clue what he's doing. Go back to the Kadarius Toney talk. When he literally said that season, Kadarius Toney's on the trade block, and everybody's like, you're freaking crazy. That's insanity. Guess what? Kadarius Toney got traded that year. But nobody wanted to give Pat his props because people think Pat's a jerk. He was right. Point blank, he was right. Book at Tackle says, hey, Cowboys put something in the trade clause with Green Bay to make sure Micah couldn't go to the Eagles. Yes, I saw that, and I freaking love it. Love it. That's more petty than Tom and Richard put together. I love it. And there's not a lot of things that Jerry does that I love. I think he's pretty much a fool for the most part. Great marketer, but a fool. But it is what it is there, like that's next level pettiness. Jace is Newbin has 0, bro. Yes. But again, I've told you this before, Jay, and I stick by it. I don't trust anything I see from any of the players on defense right now because of how horrible the defensive scheme is. Point blank. So, Jay says, Drew is on fire today. Woo! This Drew is on fire. Let's see. Daryl says, what about Gruden and then having Rex Ryan as defensive coordinator? Listen, spoiler again. You guys keep asking questions about the players. Coaching candidates. We're going to talk about tonight later on 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The shameless plug. I don't think there's a chance in hell of Gruden coming here. I honestly think the email situation, they're not going to deal with it. There's a lot of baggage that comes with him. And listen, when it comes to Gruden, I'm not going to sit there and say that nobody's ever said things behind closed doors they shouldn't have said. Like, let's be honest. If we're all being honest, we all have said something we probably shouldn't have said behind closed doors, and people aren't watching and people don't know what we're saying. Like how many times have somebody said, hey, I'm going to say this because I know I can say it to you and you won't get offended or whatever like that. Or we can joke around with you, but I couldn't say this publicly. Let's be very frank. There's plenty of people that say that stuff. And we've all done it at least once or twice in their life, if not on a regular basis. Most don't do it on a regular basis. I think John Gruden is just one of those guys that does. But when it boils down to it, he said some really horrible things, guys. And you can't do stuff like that. Like you don't say the stuff that he said and not have ramifications for it. Like I don't think he's coming anywhere to the NFL. Plus, there's the whole NFL lawsuit thing as well. So, speaking of lawsuits, Jay says Brian Flores, if the lawsuit didn't exist, would be perfect disciplined leader from New York and a hardcore Giants fan. Yeah, there's some complications there because you also got to think who comes with him on offense. He needs an experienced offensive coordinator that won't ruin Jaxson Dart. Like that's where we're at. But we'll see what happens there with that. This guy says still not Daboll, still not as bad as Ray Hanley, Bill Arspender. I'm not a suck ace Giants fan to know this. Your team fails in clutch time. Keep pointing fingers. Let's see, he said he had to go anyways. Yeah, I mean, he had to go. And again, I'm not going to sit there and say Daboll's the whole problem, guys. But he's the biggest problem. We let the biggest problem go. And then from there now, it's Kafka's chance. I don't think Shane Bowen makes the end of the year. I think next week or two, he's probably gone. Unless Bowen can kind of rein him in and say, dude, cut the shit out. Like, that's what Bowen needs. And I think Vrabel did that for him. Vrabel obviously was very involved being a defensive guy himself, both a former defensive player in the NFL, former defensive coordinator in college and in the NFL. Like, I think he definitely had a hand in that defense. But I think point blank, Shane Bowen just needs somebody to say, dude, cut the crap. And Daboll didn't do it, I don't think. I don't think Daboll knew enough on defense. Now, does Kafka? I don't think he does either. But Kafka might listen to the guys on the staff that do, like Andre Patterson. Andre Patterson, point blank, called out Shane Bowen when defending Dexter Lawrence, talking about how he wasn't lined up properly in the right spot based on the scheme. That just tells you what the rest of the coaching staff thinks of him. So, and he won't make it next year, that's for sure. But if he wants to make it the rest of this season at the very least, so he may be safe face and be a position coach next year somewhere, he needs to listen to people. And I think that's what you got to do is I think the coaching staff needs to have a meeting with Kafka, because that asserts Kafka as the alpha in that room, basically. And then let the guys, let the Marquand Manuels, let the Andre Pattersons of the world, the guys who have been there before, have that open discussion. Shut up and listen to what they say. Think about it. And say, you know what? I've taken all your guys' advice in. You made a great point there. Let's implement that. You made a great point there. Let's implement that. Shane, what do you think? throwing your support behind the guys who have the smart ideas first, and then going to Shane. Assert yourself as Shane. You need to listen to those guys. There's a way to do this. And I'm hoping he follows into that suit. And then basically Shane Bowen becomes kind of the defensive coordinator with a lot less control. And then mid-game, you know what you do? You go on the headset with these guys. Say, listen, you open up to me. You talk to me what's going on. Because again, I don't think he has that experience either. But he's got guys in the staff that have been there before. Lean on those guys. Do the right thing. Get this defense fixed. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm goddamn tired of seeing no blitzes. I'm goddamn tired of seeing no press coverage whatsoever. I'm goddamn tired of seeing guys playing 10 yards off the receiver. I'm done. I'm done with it. And you know, that's target number one right now is Shane Bowen. With Brian Daboll being gone, target number one now is officially Shane Bowen. And like I said, I still don't think it's going to be that long. I really don't. We will see here. I'm looking right now to see if there's any more news here real quick before we get going, guys. Let's see here. This is the Giants statement on it. Let's see anything else. Let's see, just double checking here. Making sure nothing else for you guys before we get going. All right, guys. That looks like it here for us. Like I said, we'll be back again 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time talking about top 10 candidates to take over the job. So we're going to call it an afternoon for us here. We'll be back then talking about that. Any news that breaks between now and then, we will, of course, be on with you and let you guys know. Again, if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button, tell a friend. Some of you all might be new to the show as well, since this is an afternoon show. We don't usually do an afternoon show, that's for sure. But I got the time, so I'm doing it. So, like I said, hit that like, hit that subscribe. We do shows every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on, of course, YouTube, the preferred platform, along with, of course, Facebook, X/Twitter, Twitch, and, of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. All our podcast episodes also pop up the next day on, of course, all the big audio podcast references there. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones. In fact, I might even download this and pop this in real quick for those guys as well. Again, we appreciate you guys for coming on as always. Appreciate you guys supporting us to a afternoon emergency breaking news show here. Don't do a lot of those, that's for sure. But appreciate these coming on as always. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Men!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.